He can.
He will.
Jackhammer. Shoulders down. He did it. Goldberg's the Universal Champion.
I can't believe it.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment down below and I just might end up responding. Professional wrestling is a sport notoriously built up on respect. Ironic, given it's a sport also built upon egocentric screwjobs and choreographed low blows, but I digress. Despite the scripted nature of WWE programming, wrestlers are still occasionally prone to getting their own links in on an opponent they find particular issue with. Even the scripting itself is sometimes so rough it ends up shameful all on its own. I'm D-Wicket, and here's 10 of the most disrespectful WWE moments of all time. Number 10, abusing death. Right, so that's a fun way to start a list. Unfortunately, it's not only a horrendous entry, it's also far and away the most common practice on this list, being actually the only trend itself instead of a singular specific moment. WWE has had numerous talent pass away during their tenure under Vincent Kennedy McMahon, yet they still managed to come back to our TV screens despite the whole, being dead. Paul Heyman dressed up as Paul Bearer and made a mockery of him. Brian Pillman's wife was interviewed by the company just days after he died and aired it on live TV. Eddie Guerrero was infamously deemed inside of hell via Randy Orton during Rey Mysterio's rise to the World Heavyweight Championship. A push in and of itself spawned off the death of Vicky's beloved husband. All these names and many more lost their lives while signed to WWE's dotted. And whether their 2 feet were planted inside the ring or 6 feet under didn't seem to change whether Vince & Co. held them to those contracts or not.
Eddie's down there. In hell! Jerk. This guy's a friggin' jerk.
Number 9, Rosie O'Donnell. Great, the really unfunny one is out of the way now, so let's move on to the, still not funny. I don't exactly know what a Rosie O'Donnell is, but based on WWE's accentuated version of her in a match pitting a fake Rosie versus a fake Donald Trump because wrestling is funny, I'm led to assume that she has A, probably bashed Trump and or WWE in the past, and B, might be a few pounds overweight. They threw a Rosie double out there with the most piggish presentation this side of Henry O'Godwin, initials that spelled out hog, because do you get the joke? Ha! It's a pig, man. And yet she still looks like the smelliest thing to ever step between the squared circle's ropes. Again, I don't really know what a Rosie O'Donnell does, just going off of WWE's presentation here. Although I have heard she plays a role in The View, which is only acceptable programming when joined by Norm Macdonald, bless his conniving Canadian maple-shaped heart.
And company are not here at ringside tonight. It's a point, Rosie. Look at Rosie is simply overpowering the Donald here in the early going.
Number 8, John Cena murders Dean Ambrose. For those who still dog on Cena's promo ability, especially once the big part-time match then leave for a bit, John entered the fray, are absolutely kidding themselves. Cena's put out some of the best verbal barbs in WWE for about half the current century now, and especially excels when it comes to burying his opponents. Think something about the first half of that current century might have held him out there. While Dean Ambrose was the first to spark the fire on Cena's then newly part-timer status, Cena came back hard on an episode of Talking Smack about just how lazy Dean Ambrose is and how he's never had John's respect because he, and I quote, doesn't deserve it. Damn, I miss Talking Smack.
John Cena doesn't care about Dean Ambrose. And if Dean wants me to care about him, at no mercy, he'll either step up or step aside.
Number 7, John Cena murders Alex Riley. Another one up, another one down 6 feet underneath Superman Cena's unfathomable influence. Admittedly, while the Ambrose feud only feels realistic because of how tied to the characters both John and Dean were, along with how well acted the feud was between both men, Cena's feud with Alex Riley feels oddly less real, while being 100% confirmed real by The Miz's former lackey himself. Alex Riley has never really given the best of explanations for John Cena's utter hatred of him past, I don't know, man, he just never really took to me, I guess. Whatever the reason, John sure did the deed and did it dirty, with apparent plans for his next Raw segment you're about to see, originally seeing Alex Riley being helped out by The Miz, and the two would get the revenge over the Ultimate Babyface, with Cena instead employing a little creative control to leave Riley looking as weak as possible.
Miz needs to see this up close and personal.
Oh, and now this?
The STF locked in by John Cena, Alex Riley.
Number 6, Flat Earther AJ. I mentioned talking smack earlier with Cena's verbal assault on Dean Ambrose, and while it's true that the short-lived yet well-remembered post-SmackDown show held host to some of the genuinely best serious promos of the modern era, i.e. watch The Miz lose his shit all over Daniel Bryan, the show has also had some of the absolute funniest WWE moments of all time. Thanks in no small part to that lovely little aforementioned GOAT man. Daniel Bryan and Renee Young, they just vibe so well with each other in such a jovial, adolescent, humor-filled energy that's honestly, it makes it no surprise that AJ Styles came on one episode just to get called out as a flat earther and fluster up thanks to D-Bry. AJ is a very, very good kayfabe poster, so I doubt he's really a flat earther, but on the off chance, getting publicly outed is undeniable disrespect.
Hey AJ, do you want to talk about how you think the earth is flat?
Do you want to talk about how your feet are flat?
They are flat, but like he legitimately thinks the earth is flat.
Number 5, Brock throws out the title. I still don't really get this one because of presentation alone, but let's delve in. After WrestleMania 34's main event pitting Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar, a match that was heralded as the greatest of a generation and did not receive a single boo, no, not even one, no sir, Brock stormed to the back and threw his recently retained Universal Championship at head honcho Vince McMahon before immediately walking out the next available door. It was a little bizarre. I think this is real disrespect. I'm just a bit confused on why is this random little few second clip being recorded? I guess it's 2018, and by this point, WWE is well into their behind the scenes business. So yeah, sure, why not? I guess the Bork was just upset he didn't get to kill Roman even harder.
Look at the rage on the face, in the eyes of Reigns.
Number 4, your arms are too short. Sometimes a moment is clearly scripted out, but either so well written or there's just so much genuine heat behind the words being said that kayfabe be damned, the entire promo feels like a shoot. CM Punk was pretty justified in his dislike of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson back in 2012. I'm not really sure if he didn't actually like him or not, seeing as the two clearly remained buddy-buddy after the WWE years, but Punk definitely did have an issue with Rocky's Wrestle main eventia placement 2 years in a row, and you know what? Yeah, that's pretty fair. Punk worked his ass off for a year-plus WWE Championship reign and didn't get the single one thing that he wanted: the main event spot. So when Punk got to feuding with Dwayne, it'd be no surprise if his infamous arms are too short to box with God line wasn't packing some serious pain behind it.
Understand, when you step in the ring, your arms are just too short to box with God.
Number 3, Goldberg murders The Fiend. Really, you could throw just about anything from Goldberg out there post-Lesnar feud, barring that Dolph Ziggler match, and it would count in spades towards a list like this. But no amount of unfortunate Undertaker matches can rival the level of disrespect required to do a man like Bray Wyatt so dirty. For an entire year, Wyatt carefully plotted out this breath of fresh air storyline about The Fiend, and while yes, there may have been a Hell in a Cell-sized hiccup in the road towards WrestleMania, WWE had amazingly managed to keep this unique, concept-centric gimmick going really strong for almost an entire year without blowing the load early. Until Goldberg showed up for a Saudi, no-sold the immense fear Fiend is supposed to canonically put into anybody, and ended the match with a near murder within minutes, legitimately botching the jackhammer he used to put Bray away because of course a terrible decision couldn't just end on a bad note, it had to end on a deadly one.
He can. He will. Jackhammer. Shoulders down. He did it. Goldberg's the Universal Champion. I can't believe it.
Number 2, the following clip, because I don't really have much to say here. I just love Heath. If it's anything to you, Heath, if you hear this one day, Mr. Slater Gator, I give a about your kids. Okay? I do. Brock Lesnar, though, not so much.
Let's talk about your kids. I don't give a about your kids.
And number 1, Paige mocking Reed Flair. I know, starting and ending a list with death, what a cheery way to spend 10 minutes, right? But hear me out. In my opinion, this is by far the worst time that they abused the dead on live television. So back in 2015, Paige cuts a promo on Charlotte Flair, and in traditional contract signing fashion, the segment ends in a brawl. The line that sparked that fire, however, caused massive controversy for the WWE, having Paige tell Charlotte that her, quote, little baby brother didn't have much fight in him. While Orton saying Eddie was in hell was horrible, Guerrero knew how to play the game and realistically wouldn't have given a shit, especially considering his best friend Mysterio was going to benefit from it so strongly. Plus, there's something so much worse to me about the phrasing, your little brother didn't have much fight in him. I mean, from the perspective of a writer, that hits way deeper bases than just, he's down there in hell, but, you know, that's subjective. And while the interview WWE did with Pillman's wife after his death was far worse and literally impossible to defend, at least she was aware and consented to what she was doing, albeit likely out of shock and confusion. Ric Flair and Reed's mother weren't even notified that the line was going to be dropped and just casually tuned into Monday Night Raw only to meet heartbreak. All for a feud that, and this is crucial, no one gave a shit about. WWE threw a cheap shot at a boy dying 2 years prior without any warning or care in the world.
Cause your little baby brother, he didn't have much fight in him, did he?
Oh, come on. That was uncalled for.
And those are 10 of the most disrespectful WWE moments of all time. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. After liking the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications, and that bell.